The 2008 first-person parkour game Mirror's Edge hinges on you being able to move as fluidly as possible. Well, that's a bit of a problem when the slide is not a very satisfying slide. It's quite slow, and even when you have to get under certain gaps, you may not even make it the whole way. It's such a weak slide. Especially compared to modern games, this slide is certainly lacking. Okay, now this nitpick is something I actually kind of feel about this game. But the problem is that it doesn't matter. It would be a problem if I had legitimate grounds to say that all of the movement in Mirror's Edge sucked. That would be a problem, seeing as it's the point of the game. But really, this is just one tiny aspect that isn't quite as good as it could be. If I were to make a whole video about how the slide of Mirror's Edge ruins the game, I don't think I would be making a very good video. Games are a difficult medium to discuss critically. The variety of outcomes and emergent moments that can occur within games can make every player's experience and their reading of it drastically different. Hey there, 5-hour Dark Souls essay. Please knock it off. Some of us don't have the time or the internet upload speed to be able to make those videos, okay? So while it may seem overly gratuitous when you see a 4-hour Dark Souls essay on YouTube, it actually kind of makes sense. If someone wanted to put in the legwork to cover all of Dark Souls, or really any game for that matter, it's going to result in a lot that needs to be broken down. But that expectation is unsustainable. Everyone can't be out here making 6-hour video essays about games. Some people, like myself, want to make shorter videos that deal with specific details within games. But there are some problems that arise when we cut out a smaller slice of a game. The biggest mistake of these smaller critiques is that we misunderstand what the goal actually is. What I mean by that is that we put too much importance on our personal nitpicks and think that they are important pieces of analysis. By the nature of being a pick-me video game critic on YouTube, we are bound to miss the forest for the trees every once in a while. Just because you can notice a small thing in a game doesn't make it smart or astute to point out that very small thing, especially if it is pulled out of context in a way that it doesn't really have anything to do with the goals of the game. Allow me to explain further. So YouTube creator Zoomzyke is bigger than me, so I have to punch up. He made a video about Super Mario Odyssey, in which he details what he views as a fundamental problem of this game, and he calls it the island problem.
Take Metro Kingdom for instance, where if you travel to any edge of it, you'll discover that the entire city is cut off from the rest of the world. Why does this matter? Because it completely shatters any immersion one has for this place being a real lived-in location. How did the citizens get here in the first place? How did they leave?
The problem he points out is that these islands in this game, they are all isolated, totally suspended, separated from everything else. They are islands. This video is competently made. It's well thought out. You view it on its own, and it's not bad at all. I don't want to mistake this like I'm picking on this bad video. The problem, I think, in this video is that it deliberately misses the forest for the trees, because missing the forest for the trees allows for this smaller point to seem like an astute observation. The trees in this instance is that he's pointing out the lack of real-world logic in Super Mario Odyssey. They're making the claim that because there is not an airport for the taxis in New Donk City, immersion is broken.
The taxis that you see flying around are a good start for making this place feel believable, but they aren't enough. If the devs really wanted to hit this point home, they should have designed a place dedicated to taxi services to and from this kingdom. Kind of like an airport, but for taxis.
Because these islands are not connected to a greater world, immersion is broken. So let's break this down to find our way to the forest. Mario Odyssey never shows that it's ever concerned with real-world world logic. The only things in our world that it really concerns itself with is gravity and physics. Everything else is Mario logic. Cappy can't be explained in our logic. Cappy is because Cappy is in a Mario game. All of the logic in the game is concerned with immersion in one category, and that is gameplay. We aren't supposed to be immersed by the lifelike routines of the New Donk City citizens. We are supposed to be immersed by the flow we can develop within the gameplay that they've made for us. The construction of these levels is not supposed to mimic real life in any way. It is supposed to allow for better gameplay flow. This game all hinges on the idea of if we think it can be done, it probably can be. And even if you want to be immersed in the worlds here, it is not going to be because of real life similarities. It is going to be because the world contains secrets. The world wants you to explore it, and you will be rewarded for that. That is the immersive element of each level within Super Mario Odyssey. Tetris is not immersive because we can see ourselves living in that world. It's immersive because of the gameplay. Mario is the same way. Apologies to Zoomzyke for going in like this. It's just the video that spurred these thoughts for me. I do think it's a well-made video, make that very clear. But there's more here. It's the reviews that focus more on texture pop-in than they do on the actual gameplay. You'll see these reviews, and it's the deliberate wording that makes it sound so much more important. When you decide to say in your review, the pop-in broke my immersion, that's a huge statement. But when you say there's a slight pop in here and there, you're just informing people that there's occasional technical hiccups. That's not the biggest deal. I can be guilty of stuff like this, and I can border on being guilty of it. And I think I border on it in my last video. I talk about the need to scan everything in Horizon. It's ultimately a fairly small element of the game, even though you do it quite a bit. I know that it's a nitpick, but I tried to make it perfectly clear that I thought it was a notable thing to discuss, but it's not something to be held against the game. That small thing within Horizon is illustrative of another issue, and it allowed me to do an overall critique of realistic graphics. But ultimately, that's the trees of Horizon. The forest will be when I'm eventually able to put a whole package together and give all of my thoughts on the gameplay, story, and characters all put together. That is the forest. That is what matters within that game. I would say that we need some sort of unified way of determining what is and isn't important in a game, but I think you just gotta kind of feel it out. It's fluid. Feel it in your gut like me. As I hold my chest. What am I doing? I think the most important parts of Mario Odyssey are the level design and the movement mechanics, and within reason of those two things, the game basically never tells you no. They never tell you no, you can't do this thing if you think you can do it within the mechanics. I don't know, I guess I could also say it's just like genre. Genre helps us narrow this down as to what's important. A stealth game should probably make sure to be really good at stealth, and it'll be okay if it's not Call of Duty level first-person shooting. All in all, I think we just need to understand that we don't have any control over the shaping of these products, and when we get our hands on them and we're giving critiques, it's really not a good critique to say, this thing does this, but I wish it did that. I'm an advocate for these smaller types of gaming videos. We can't all be making 5-hour essays out there. If you do them, though, you're bound to miss the forest for the trees every once in a while. And I just wanted to make this video to, in some ways, even remind myself not to do that. Believe me, I want to sound like the smartest person in the room here and there. And I can fall victim to trying to find those small things just so that I sound so clever. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to try not to do that. Let's not give too much value to our nitpicks. Let's all try and make sure it contributes to a larger discussion and is more than just trying to make ourselves sound clever and smart. If you want to see an example of a big swing that I made, and I made a big deal about something unimportant, watch this video.